It's amazing because I had an idea of wanting to make a film about a free man, and my wife found this book called 12 Years a Slave on the internet. And it's one of those funny things that sometimes things are in plain sight. No one I knew the book. No one.
That servant that don't obey his Lord shall be beaten with many stripes.
As I opened the book and turned the pages of the book and read the book, and when I finished it, I couldn't believe it.
Man does how he pleases with his property.
If you want to survive, do and say as little as possible.
So for me, it became my passion to make this book into a movie and turn it into a film. I'm just so happy that through the film, people now know who Solomon Northup is, and he's back rightfully in his place in history.
Well, boy, how you feel now?
My name is Solomon Northup. I'm a free man, and you have no right whatsoever to detain me.
You're no free man. You're nothing but a Georgia runaway.
You wrote on the United Nations blog, slavery is a huge hole in the canvas of cinema, and for me, it had to be visualized. What do you think is the power that the film delivers beyond what the experience of reading the book can deliver?
To be honest, there've been less than 20 movies about slavery, American slavery. And roots, yes, 1977. That was on the television. So it's a different kind of depiction of slavery, of course. But it was amazing. It was amazing. It was a landmark television. Obviously, I think actually still holds the world record for the amount of viewers who saw that television series. So it was something which was very important all around the world. But what I wanted to do was just to sort of focus in on what was happening in the South in America. I felt that a lot of times people shied away from it. I mean, you could think of things like Blazing Saddles, or I don't know, Gone with the Wind, or Birth of a Nation. Somehow they were talking about it, but talking around the subject. And other films which I felt were talking around the subject. I wanted to talk about the subject. So I had to sort of just look at it right in its face and point the camera and say action. Let's get on with it. Let's show what actually happened. What it does, it makes it real. What it does, it isn't a myth. It's a reality. And with that reality comes one's own response. And with that comes empathy. With that comes understanding. So I just feel there's an ambivalence towards slavery, a huge ambivalence to American slavery. But also it was about not just what happened in the past, it was about what's happening now with 21 million people who are in modern day slavery. And giving that attention too, by having Solomon Northup in this movie and people knowing him and knowing his family, understanding who he is, obviously that will translate to someone else. This was a mirror. This was a mirror of what's actually happening in our reality. And that's what cinema is about.
I was a free man. I'm not a slave.
Director Stephen McQueen, ladies and gentlemen. I know I'm meant to say a few words after this great movie, but I have become speechless after having seen this powerful, very powerful, moving movie. There were moments when the film was very hard to watch, but there can be no turning away. Not from the horrors of slavery, as it was practiced then, and not from the forms of slavery that exist today around the world.
Tonight, the honor is made to one filmmaker of Burkina Faso, Mr. Boubacar Diallo, with the screening of his film Cœur de Lion. This film tackles with romantic manner the issue of the slave trade in Africa, seen from the African perspective. It shows also the sense of friendship, courage of African people, clinging to their pride and defense of the collective conscientiousness.
I would like to ask you, how was the movie welcome? We know that it won a prize at FESPACO. Did you get negative reactions when it was screened for the first time?
Non, les gens ont beaucoup apprécié parce que c'est quand un film ou un projet parle de la réalité, c'est bien qu'on l'accepte. Donc, je pense que la population a accepté, la population a aimé le film, a apprécié le sujet que le réalisateur a voulu montrer au monde entier que les Africains aussi ont été complices dans la traite négrière. Donc, c'est une bonne chose.
I think where this film really succeeds is seeing the role that Africans played. It's actually, I mean, obviously slavery is a very painful thing. And watching depictions of slavery on film is a very painful thing. But this, for me, as an African, the pain is even more pronounced because you're seeing that, you know, in some cases we did have a role in it.
Films can be powerful educational tools that play a vital role in raising awareness, unlocking resistance, instilling pride in one's heritage, and healing old wounds, and sparking discussion so that tragedies like the Transatlantic Slave Trade never happen again. Belle is a moving film inspired by a true story that shows the courage of those who paved the way to the abolition of slavery in the United Kingdom and around the world.
Laws that allow us to diminish the humanity of anybody are not laws.
He speaks a voice for people who do not have one.
There are rules in place which dictate how we live.
You break every rule when it matters enough, Papa. I am the evidence.
But for me, I came into this feeling that responsibility of telling Dido's story. I desperately wanted to bring Dido to the world and to have her have a voice. And, you know, in the UK, she's known as the little girl who helped end slavery. And I wanted the world to know that she existed.
Yeah, I mean, I did feel an immense responsibility, especially as Dido really did exist. And I think what's so refreshing about Dido to me is that she's a woman of mixed heritage and she's not a slave. You know, she is in a privileged position, but she's still not equal. And I think what was so wonderful about the script is it explored the nuances of racism. It's not just, not only the brutality of it, but, you know, in this high society of the period, you know, how complex that is. And I think, you know, sometimes it's small daily humiliations that, you know, are very, very contemporary for today.
I think it's undeniable that 12 Years a Slave will help a movie like Belle. I think essentially we're looking at different sides of the same coin. And while 12 Years a Slave looked at the experience of being a slave, you know, categorically up front, you know, we let you know that Dido is not a slave. But what it does do, and what Dido's story does do, is help you explore the rules and the laws that allowed slavery to exist. And that's the other side of the coin.
François-Dominique Toussaint.
Général Toussaint Louverture.
J'ai décidé de doter Saint-Domingue d'une constitution.
Je vous protégerai contre vous-même.
Qui tu es pour me donner des ordres?
Depuis que tu es gouverneur, tu ne sais plus comment les gens vivent autour de toi.
Toussaint Louverture, c'est une figure très importante au sein de la diaspora noire, que ce soit en Afrique ou aux Amériques et même en Europe. Et plusieurs projets avaient essayé d'être montés. Il y en avait un notamment par Danny Glover. Et ça a été très difficile de trouver les financements pour monter le projet. Je pense que c'est difficile de se rendre compte aujourd'hui de la lutte que ça a été pour réussir à sensibiliser les financiers français et notamment une chaîne de télévision publique française au parcours de Toussaint Louverture et à la nécessité impérieuse qu'il y avait de réveiller cette mémoire endormie. Il y a des films comme ça qui ont comme une espèce de mission qu'ils portent avec eux, une mission d'ordre un petit peu supérieur, qui fait que tous les comédiens, moi comprise, nous sommes engagés dans un travail au niveau de nos personnages, mais avec la conscience très aiguë du symbole qu'on allait chacun incarner et de la rareté de ce genre de projet. Alors, il faut savoir que pour le personnage de Suzanne, je disposais je pourrais dire de rien. Les traces historiques sont extrêmement minces, peut-être parce que c'est une femme. C'est une femme.
The movie that you are about to see is the result of a fruitful collaboration among people from Africa and its diaspora. Therefore, one of the strongest messages it delivers is that no matter how heartbreaking the transatlantic slave trade was, African descent remain one people with their African brothers.
I think one of the most important and interesting parts of the journey of participating in this film for me was having to escape my own personal narrative and relationship, which as an African American would be somewhat romantic with the continent of Africa or the country of Senegal, being that we have I have no clear idea of which African country I'm from or what have you. It's true that for me as an African American being in Senegal, if this film was about that, like a film like Sankofa Bahali Jarima or something, if it was a film about my reconnection to Africa, that would be one thing. But for me, I was being asked to play a Senegalese character at home. And so part of the journey for me that was interesting as an actor was to release this romantic notion of relationship to Africa and deal with the reality.
I am a maroon.
I am a maroon.
We are maroons.
The Maroons are the present-day descendants of Africans who escaped from slavery and managed to build their own communities in inaccessible parts of the country in the interior of Jamaica.
Another film in the festival will help us connect both sides of the Atlantic and complete the journey. They Are We, by director Emma Christopher. She tells the story of the return of the Cuban descendants of an enslaved woman to her village of origin in Sierra Leone. This is indeed another victory over slavery.
You wrote some books before. Why did you decide this time to make a film?
Mostly because I wanted them to be able to speak for themselves without the people, both of the groups involved, because I wanted them to be able to speak for themselves on camera without going through me, because it's so much more visceral that you can touch how happy they are and how delighted they are to be singing those songs and dances again. And I think because film had been the way that they reconnected, it was because I'd filmed not just recorded their songs, but also filmed their dances, that the people in Africa could look at it and go, I know exactly what that is. And so it just made sense. And I think film just has that more immediate reaction.